Hi everyone, yasas que kalos to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a quick and easy and delicious one-pan Greek chicken with zucchini and rice skillet. There's so much flavor in this. You guys are going to love it. Your family's going to love it. Let's get started. Okay, we're going to begin with some chicken thighs. I love to use chicken thighs for this because they stay nice and juicy. I'm going to leave the skin on. It's going to get nice and crispy in the oven, but you can use boneless, skinless chicken thighs for this, or even drumsticks would work too. Just lightly season them with salt and pepper on both sides. And then before you do anything else, get the onion chopped up. I'm doubling this recipe, so I am using extra chicken and extra everything because I'm making 2 batches of it. But we'll go over the recipe as if we're making 1 batch so it's not confusing. So take 1 onion and finely chop it, set it aside, heat up a large skillet over medium-high heat, add some olive oil to it, and then we'll brown the chicken about 3 to 4 minutes on each side just until it gets some nice color on it. Transfer it to a baking dish. You can transfer it to the same baking dish that the uncooked chicken was in, just to keep cleanup simple, where this is going to continue to bake in the oven, so there won't be any cross-contamination, no worries. The last few minutes of cooking on the stovetop, I like to turn the heat off because the pan will get really, really hot, and I don't want the onions to get too much color on them. So once the chicken is out of the pan, we're going to add the onions. Keep the heat off, and then once the pan cools down a little bit, you can turn the heat back on to medium-low. The onions are going to cook for about 8 minutes until they're nice and soft and slightly golden. Next, we're going to add some garlic to this. So I love garlic. I'll add 4 to 5 garlic cloves that have been grated. Just toss them in there and just warm them through until the garlic is fragrant. You're not looking for any color or to cook it for too long. You don't want this to burn. Turn the heat off. And then at this point, you can transfer your onions to a baking pan. If you're cooking this in a baking pan, it'll be a 9 by 13 inch baking pan. That's what this will fit in. If you're using a skillet that's oven proof, then that's perfect. Everything will come together in one pan. So I have some rice here. I let the rice soak while the chicken was being cooked and I was preparing everything. Drain the rice really well and add it to the pan while it's off of the heat. And now we're going to season the rice with a teaspoon of ground coriander. I like to grind my own coriander using a coffee grinder. There's just something about the aroma and the fragrance that fresh coriander has that store-bought ground coriander cannot even come close to it. Then 1.5 teaspoons of salt because I'm doing 1.5 cups of rice, but you can fit 2 cups of rice in the pan, and this tastes great as leftovers. Next, I'm going to add some freshly cracked black pepper, a teaspoon of dried oregano, and a 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice. Always use fresh lemon juice. It's so much better than store-bought. 2 cups of chicken broth are going to go in, but you can add water if you'd like if you don't have the chicken broth. I also like to add a little pinch of crushed red pepper flakes for heat. You can also add some cumin to this because cumin goes really well with chicken. I'm just going to leave it out. There's already lots of flavor. If you're adding cumin, 1 teaspoon will be more than enough. Mix everything up until it's combined. And again, you can do this either in a baking pan. I'm doing one in the skillet and the other one in the 9 by 13 inch baking pan. And then we're going to top it with that chicken. And now it's time to add the zucchini. I just took whole zucchini and I trimmed off the stem and I cut it into thick rounds. This is the size that you're looking for. Place the zucchini in a bowl, and it's a good idea to season it. Zucchini tends to be very bland, so just drizzle a little bit of olive oil over it, season it with salt, pepper, and lots of garlic powder, and toss it around until the zucchini is coated. You can also add some oregano to it if you like. Arrange the zucchini between the chicken. It's a good idea to put the zucchini on top like I'm doing, so that way it doesn't get mushy at all. It'll get golden and roasted in the oven. At this point, I also like to season the chicken with a little bit of paprika. This is just plain sweet paprika, not the smoked paprika. And in the oven it goes. The oven is preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This is going to bake for 40 to 45 minutes or until the chicken is fully cooked, and the internal temperature should reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit minimum. It'll be much higher than that once it comes out of the oven, and it's fine because again we're using chicken thighs and the bone is in, so they'll be really juicy even if they reach 190 degrees Fahrenheit. That's perfectly fine. The rice should be perfectly cooked too and nice and fluffy. Take it out of the oven and you can sprinkle some finely chopped parsley on top to garnish with some lemon wedges, and then it's ready to serve. And just like that, the meal is ready. Now You don't have to pan fry the chicken first if you don't want to, but since you're gonna cook the onion anyway, it does give the chicken some beautiful golden color, locks in the moisture, so why skip that step? I mean, it just takes a few minutes to do it anyway. While the chicken is cooking, you can just prepare everything else that's gonna go in the skillet, and it's just so easy to do. I mean, you can throw everything in one pan, but it won't taste as good. We have maximum flavor in this with so little effort. It's so good, smells amazing. I would serve this with tzatziki, a nice salad, and you'll have a meal on the table in like an hour that everyone's gonna love. Because who doesn't like rice and chicken? All right, time for the taste test. Oh my goodness. The chicken is so good. The rice is nice and tender. I am gonna reheat it later on and serve it for dinner. There still are some pieces of rice that needed a little bit more cooking. So when I reheat this, I'll add a little bit of broth to it and fluff everything up. And then maybe I'll remove the chicken from the top, fluff everything up, add a little bit of stock to it or broth, maybe half a cup, and let it simmer for about 15 minutes until the rice fully cooks. This is actually the first time that I've cooked rice in the oven without bringing it to a boil on the stovetop like I usually do with my one skillet rice dinners. And so keep an eye on it once it comes out of the oven. If you do see that some rice still kind of looks uncooked, you can add another cup of broth to it and return it to the oven and let it cook for another 15 minutes. Make sure you fluff it up so that way the rice is perfectly cooked. That's the only thing that I see that's wrong with this, but we could fix this easily. The zucchini is so good. I love zucchini. It's in season right now, but it's definitely bland if you don't cook it right. So I can understand why some people don't like it. But I grew up eating zucchini, so I like to add it in as many dishes as I can, especially when it's in season. If you don't like it, feel free to leave it out. You can substitute cauliflower, broccoli, if you like eggplant. You could do those vegetables instead of this. Let me know how you're making it in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. To get this recipe, print it out. You can head on over to the website, dimitrasdishes.com. See you all next time with another delicious recipe that's worth sharing. Yes, us.